Hello and thanks for joining us on the news on NTA International. I am Dennis Adegunloye. The headlines. 1.4 million registered voters set to elect next Sierra Leone president. Russia faces armed mutiny and President Putin describes situation as betrayal. Plus, President Bola Tinubu concludes Paris' new global finance pact engagements, heads to London for private visit. Let's begin in Sierra Leone, where sorting and counting of ballot papers have commenced in some polling units across the country, while in some areas elections continue as a result of the high number of registered voters in those units and the late arrival of election materials. Polls began at 7 in the morning at some centres and were supposed to end by 5 in the evening. Reports coming in from the ECOWAS Mission Situation Room indicate that there haven't been any troubling incidents from the more than 209 reports received on its dashboard from field agents.
Police are on ground. They have been sending us information using the tablet that we give them. So we actually, from what they are saying, we are able to see it from here on the dashboard, so that if there is anything that calls for concern, we call them to verify.
We've collected data from almost all the region, and we're very excited to report that it is relatively calm, more peaceful than we thought. And then the feelers we're getting is also that the people, the citizens of this country want elections, and they have gone to the polls. The numbers are very impressive.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan was also briefed on some of the findings from field observers. Meanwhile, the collation of council results will be at the ward level, parliamentary at the constituency level, while the collation of the presidential results will be declared in Freetown by Sierra Leone's Electoral Commission. Now, the deadly conflict in Sudan continues, raising concerns about endless escalation from local residents. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday reports.
Tensions lingers in Sudan's greater capital area with the 2-month-long war between the Sudanese armed forces and its rival, the Rapid Support Forces. Airstrikes and anti-aircraft missile fire continue to hit military bases in many places in the area, with those in Khartoum and North Omdurman the focus of the clashes. The two sides use heavy artillery, rocket launchers, missiles, drones, and other weapons to attack each other in Khartoum and neighboring Khartoum North and Omdurman. Both sides accusing each other of using the ceasefire to redeploy military forces so as to spearhead attacks once the deal expires, as local keep calling for an exit to the turmoil.
Both sides in the conflict need to sit together and negotiate a deal, because the fighting in the war and the installments must end. Any war in the world should end through solution instead of always being like this.
As the rainy season approaches in Sudan, the World Health Organization and the Central Committee of Sudanese doctors have both warned that many parts of the country are at risk of widespread epidemics such as measles, malaria, and dengue fever. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Wagner troops are retreating from their initial advancements on Moscow, the Russian capital. The situation in the center of Moscow city is reportedly calm, with residents going about their daily lives after Russian President Vladimir Putin gave an emergency televised address on the day, accusing head of the Wagner private military group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, of attempting to carry out an armed rebellion in Russia. Let's get an update now on the internal row from Adebola Brooklyn Sunday.
Public Relations Center of the Russian Federal Security Service said a criminal case has now been initiated against Yevgeny Prigozhin for incitement to armed insurrection. The appeal came after several recordings were posted on Prigozhin's Telegram channel, where Prigozhin claimed his unit had allegedly come under attack, accusing Russia's military leadership of orchestrating the strikes. There are no restrictions on movement so far. However, all public events have been cancelled, citing security reasons. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said all of the Russian mail security services were reporting to Putin around the clock. Putin had delivered a televised address to the nation after the Wagner Group was accused of trying to organize an armed rebellion. He said any internal turmoil is a deadly threat to the statehood, to the people as a nation, calling the situation a blow to Russia and to the people. Putin vowed tough action to protect the motherland from such a threat. Russia's National Anti-Terrorism Committee announced on Saturday that a counter-terrorist operation regime has been introduced in Moscow City, the Moscow region and the Voronezh region to prevent possible terrorist acts. Troops from the rebellious Wagner machinery group are out in force in the city of Rostov-on-Don, outside the army headquarters for Russia's southern military district, with passerbys stopping to look at the military vehicles. Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin says his troops have taken control of the headquarters, Russia's main command center for Ukraine operations, as well as air base in the city, vowing to topple Moscow's top military leaders. Meanwhile, the entrance to the PMC Wagner Center, headquarters of the private military group in St. Petersburg in Russia, has been blocked after the Russian armed forces have received the necessary order to neutralize those who organized the armed rebellion of the Wagner private military group. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
In other news, President Bola Tinubu on Friday concluded his official trip to Paris, France, during which he had an outstanding participation in the summit for a new global financing pact hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron. Aside his participation at the events where he represented Nigeria well, President Tinubu also held high-profile sideline meetings with fellow heads of state and government, global business leaders and chief executives of leading multilateral and development finance institutions from around the world. President Tinubu, who was initially scheduled to be back in Abuja on Saturday, will now proceed to London, United Kingdom, for a short private visit. He will be back in the country in time for the upcoming Eid-el-Kabir festival. The government of Norway has provided an additional funding of $4.5 million in support of Nigeria. The fund will be channeled through the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in the country. The funding support is targeted at implementing an existing project aimed at scaling up food security, nutrition, and sustainable livelihoods in Borno, Adamawa, Yobe, and Taraba states. In the meantime, Swedish embassy in Nigeria is collaborating with stakeholders in the environment sector to design a program on waste management to create wealth in communities. This was the thrust of discussions at a forum on plastic recycling initiative hosted by the embassy in Abuja. Calvin Evwonaye reports.
Over 400 million tons of plastics are produced every year worldwide, and half of it are designed to be used only once, with less than 10% recycled. The Swedish ambassador to Nigeria, Annika Englund, says this is an opportunity for job creation, especially in communities, describing the partnership with the Living Earth as a veritable platform to raise awareness on waste management with emphasis on plastic waste recycling.
We don't have to wait for the future we want. We can create it right now. Everyone can join. the global movement for change. So it's time to beat plastic pollution.
But plastic they are reusable. You can reuse it, you can recycle it, you can reject even. There's another one you can reject, you can reuse, you can recycle. And especially from the shopping malls, we go there, we pack a whole lot of them. We can do something like going with a shopping bag. Those simple things, that's the area we are advocating for now, before we now start talking about a more sophisticated solution.
The embassy and its partners are now to move to the next stage of training of youths in rural communities on techniques in plastic waste management, with two objectives in sight: keeping the environment clean and wealth creation. In Abuja, Kelvin Ebonwaye, NTA News.
The federal government is to apply stringent laws to ensure proper management of oil spills in the country. This was the fallout of a stakeholders' workshop by the National Oil Spill Detection Response Agency, NOSDRA, in Abuja. Director General of the agency, Idris Musa, said the workshop, which was to critically examine the impact of oil spills on aquatic life in the affected areas, was also to come up with effective ways of minimizing the impact, while enforcement has been heightened with a view to applying sanctions.
Is to collectively develop a comprehensive oil wildlife contingency plan. Such a plan will serve as the blueprint for the immediate and effective response to in the event of an oil spill, ensuring that our actions are swift, coordinated, and informed by the best available knowledge and expertise. In the next 4 days, we will engage in discussions, share experiences, and learn from one another's insights and perspectives.
The stakeholders' engagement is a periodic program by NOSDRA in ensuring that the environment in oil-producing areas is safe. Ahead of the Eid-el-Kabir celebration, wife of the president, Oluremi Tinubu, has put smiles on the faces of some Nigerians. All Progressives Congress women leader, Betta Edu, on behalf of the spouses of the president and vice president, took delivery of sacrificial rams, food items, including rice and clothing, to 30 selected mosques within and around the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja.
And of course, through her initiative, which will be coming on board very soon, to the less privileged, they would also make these donations to the mosques every time there's a Salah event coming up. They'll make these donations to churches every time we have the Easter and Christmas celebration. They would equally be reaching out to our traditional rulers so that they can feel that impact, and their prayers is that these items that are being donated will trickle down to the grassroots, to the vulnerable, to those who truly need these items, just to ensure that everyone is happy and we can have food on our table.
Items will be handed over to them, which they will rebag the bags into 5 kilos so that the distribution can go round and wide.
In whatever he does in his office as the president of this country, that his ultimate wish is to serve Nigeria to the best of his ability, so that Nigerians and whoever has business with Nigeria will have prosperity, peace, and tranquility. Accordingly, we have been praying.
Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports that the team also solicited support from Nigerians through prayers to enable the government to remain focused on its goals of fulfilling its contract with the people. You're watching the news on NTA International. Stay with us. More reports after this timeout.
We must all join hands to work hard so that we build a country for our grandchildren.
My hope is that we develop as a nation where every citizen is given his due right. There is transparency, honesty, and integrity.
Put the interests of this country first and foremost. Interests of Nigeria is being one nation, one people.
We need a famine to to put things right, things that have gone wrong before, to try and put right, for the love of country.
Our boss was like, a decent fashion designer only gets home at midnight. Midway.
Man like Osimhen, Papa just the chop Italian league like Oha.
These are real housewives of Abuja. Those women are fire. What does OJ say again? A relationship with money is Alhamdulillah.
Because they wear uniform, you want to treat people anyhow. Imagine this officer, I will clear out online. Don't cost. Bruh, come on there. Face no matter. The biggest dragon for Westeros, then slow picking face arm, blind bomb, right arm like Formula 1. Here, catch me.
He found the gold and asked her for just shaking me piece of the pie, and she killed him for it.
Obini, fair women, no.
No one tells a story like we do. Showmax, Africa's original streaming service.
You're welcome back. Now, the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mustafa Habib Ahmed, says measures must be put in place by relevant authorities in charge of waterways safety to forestall the incessant occurrences of boat mishaps that have continued to claim many lives and property. They stated this while presenting relief items to victims of the boat mishap in Patigi local government area of Kwara State. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports.
2023 was indeed the darkest day in the lifetime of the people of Patagi local government area of Kwara State, following the boat mishap that claimed more than 100 lives, while 144 others rescued in the accident. Boat accident in the riverine communities of the country is becoming alarming, which the DG NEMA is emphatic on the need for relevant authorities to deploy all necessary measures that will minimize this frequent disaster.
Any passenger ferry, they should always ensure that there is number of life vests to cover the number of people on that ferry.
He commiserated with the government and people of Kwara State over this tragic disaster. The NEMA boss handed over the relief items to the Deputy Governor of the state for onward delivery to the victims in the affected communities. Items delivered included bags of rice, beans, maize, condiment, mattresses, clothing materials, among other items. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
And to complement the efforts of the federal government in meeting the immediate needs of internally displaced persons in Nigeria, some humanitarian groups have visited an IDP camp in Durumi, Abuja, to donate relief materials. Elizabeth Omori reports that the beneficiaries advocate improved living conditions in IDP camps.
To live a normal life in an IDP camp where the basic needs of life are hard to come by is a situation that leaves one with nothing to be desired. However, the presence of visitors often raises hope. A demonstration of love that gives them more hope that they have not been abandoned and will one day return to their ancestral homes.
3 months back, we didn't see any stranger come to this camp. It's only today. And even yesterday I prayed, I said to God, make them remember us again. We are so happy. And I believe that God touched their life. That is why they remember, say, there are some people where they are in need.
Solving challenges of displacement arising from insecurity, the donors say should be a collective responsibility to reduce the burden of IDPs on government.
I would like them to champion community policing, because every individual knows who lives in a community, and you know what their character is all about. If we engage our traditional leaders, they can help you fight this insecurity.
Well-meaning Nigerians should look into helping people at the IDP camp or just anybody around you.
They, however, urged relevant authorities to provide schools, hospitals, and empowerment tools to IDPs to make life comfortable as they look forward to their return. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
The Bureau of Public Service Reforms has rated the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution high in achieving its set goals and objectives. At the presentation of its assessment reports, the Bureau says despite identified areas for necessary improvements, the Institute has recorded meaningful achievements. David Ayre reports.
Even in the removal of petroleum subsidy, you can see that it has renewed hope. Ordinary Nigerians would have kicked against, but you see, Nigerians are really cooperating. They are looking forward. Their hope is renewed for this bold step. So, for our youth, tomorrow is there. We can't afford to be hopeless because our hope has been renewed.
All right, apologies for that mix-up. Let's now take that report on the Bureau of Public Service Reforms rating the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution high in its set goals and objectives.
Bureau of Public Service Reform was given a marching order in 2019 to deploy the self-assessment tools to agencies of government for the purpose of identifying their strengths, weaknesses, and priority areas for action. Having assessed the operations of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution for a period of time, the results are positive enough to attract an award. The examiners have, however, identified some areas of weaknesses and made recommendations on how to improve on the general staff performance.
We recommend that the Institute develop a formal code of conduct that clearly sets out and upholds the standard expected from all those who work as board members, top management, and employees of the organization.
We are working with other development partners and how other developed nations are deploying and improving on their public service systems, to deliver on services to their citizens. And I think that is what the whole essence is in terms of public finance accountability and public service delivery, transparency and accountability in everything that we do, in a transparent process, accountable process, and equity, justice, and everything in the delivery of what we do.
Chairman, Fiscal Responsibility Commission, Victor Murakwo, says the culture of financial impunity in the country is gradually disappearing. He made the remark while receiving the Nigerian Economic Students Association, NESA, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, in a courtesy visit and study tour to the Commission. In terms of budget implementation, the Commission says the situation is far better than what it used to be before now, and also made a lot of giant strides in the aspect of revenue generation, which the Commission, to come up with the template for the calculation of operating surplus, which was quite acceptable, had really yielded a lot of revenue.
Even in the removal of petroleum subsidy, you can see that it has renewed hope. Ordinary Nigerians would have kicked against, but you see, Nigerians are really cooperating. They are looking forward. Their hope is renewed for this bold step. So, for our youth, tomorrow is there. We can't afford to be hopeless because our hope has been renewed.
The student body says they are privileged to have been impacted with so much knowledge about the activities of the Commission during the visit, and commended it for initiating fiscal responsibility disciples, while they would be worthy agents of fiscal accountability and integrity. Authorities in Mali have announced the results of the constitution referendum organized by the military junta in the country. The outcome indicates the voters have overwhelmingly approved changes to the constitution. Details with Musa Baba Aliu.
The military junta drafted a new constitution and presented it before the Malians to vote in support or against. Malian voters overwhelmingly approved changes to the constitution, making a key step in the ruling junta's declared plans to restore civilian rule. 97% of the referendum votes were cast in favor of the changes. The new constitution will strengthen the role of the president, a change that has surpassed expectations that junta leader Colonel Assimi Goïta intends to veer for the job. The changes will also give pride of place to the armed forces and emphasizes sovereignty, the ruling junta's mantra since it came to power in 2020. Opponents of the plan believe that the vote was designed to keep the colonels in power beyond the presidential election scheduled for February 2024, despite their initial commitment to hand over to civilians after the elections. Mali has been under military rule since August 2020, when army officers, angered over failure to roll back the jihadists, forced out the country's elected president, Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. The head of the military junta, Colonel Assimi Goïta, appointed a civilian as interim president, but kicked him out in a second coup in 2021 and stepped into the top job himself. Under pressure from the West African regional bloc ECOWAS, Goïta has vowed to restore a civilian government in March 2024 after implementing what the junta says are crucial needed institutional reforms. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Well, that concludes the news on NTA International. Many thanks for watching. I am Dennis Adigunloye.